What's going on, everyone? Hope all of you are doing well. Today, I'm going to be reviewing one of my favorite horror films, and that being Child's Play. So, Child's Play follows the character of Charles Lee Ray. Him and his partner being chased by the police. His partner pretty much leaves him, and Charles is, of course, shot. He ends up going into this toy store, this giant toy store, and there's a bunch of these good guy dolls. These good guy dolls are like a popular thing, kind of similar to the Cabbage Patch Kids that came up back in the 80s. I want to say like late 70s, early 80s, somewhere around that time. And since he knows he's dying, he decides to use a voodoo chant and transfer his soul into a good guy doll. Then we fast forward and we meet Andy, this young boy who loves the good guy doll brand. Basically, they have a cartoon, clothing, it's a big merchandise uh, corporation and, popular pop culture type of thing. Kind of similar to a lot of stuff we have nowadays. And Andy really wants, it's his birthday. He really wants this good guy doll, and he, tries to persuade his mom on getting this doll for him. Now, because of the doll being so popular, it's usually hard to come across. And she does manage to find one from a homeless guy. Of course, the homeless guy wants to basically haggle her and sell it for way more than it probably sells for. But she decides to go ahead and pay for it. This, of course, starts to lead to these murderers happening. And a lot of the murders that are happening are everything seems to be pointing at Andy, and of course Andy's mom, you know, it knows it's not her son. She knows something's going on, and he's being blamed for it. Of course, Andy, being questioned, states that it's his doll Chucky, that Chucky is alive. So of course, events eventually lead to Andy's mom believing him, and then of course the detective that kind of had a shoot off with Charles Lee Ray realizes that she's telling the truth, and of course closer to the end of the film we have our final battle with Chucky. Such an iconic horror film. Came out in the late 80s, I believe 1988 or so, somewhere around that time period. We've of course got Brad Dourif, not only playing the human role of Chucky at the beginning of the film, but also providing the voice of Chucky and would continue to this day. Now, I will say there are some scenes in this movie that I absolutely love, which I will stay, in the video. Chris Sarandon plays the detective. Everybody will, recognize him for being in Fright Night. He is the main vampire in that. And then the mom is the actress who plays the mom in Seventh Heaven. She did a few things here and there throughout her career up until Seventh Heaven that really, grew in popularity. I think it lasted like 7 seasons or so, and she was well known for doing that series. And a little fun fact: if you watch any like interviews or behind the scenes or documentaries on the Child's Play franchise, she actually ended up meeting her husband on the set. I believe he was one of the prop designers or prop makers or something like that. I believe, if not props, then somewhere on the set designs or something like that. But yeah, pretty interesting that a horror film, ended up having a romantic story behind the scenes in some way. But nonetheless, it's a pretty cool fact to learn. Now, there are a few scenes that I love in this movie. Of course, we have a scene where the mom is cleaning up. She picks up Chucky. His head turns around, kind of goes off. And when she finds out that there's no batteries, she's really spooked out. And of course, she tells the doll if he doesn't speak, she's throwing him in the fireplace. He goes crazy. That scene alone is absolutely entertaining and funny. And it's also a great jump scare, too. Another scene that stands out that I do like is a scene that, of course, deals with the fireplace again. Chucky tells Andy, "I thought we were friends to the end, and Andy's like, "This is the end, friend," and Chucky loses his mind. That is another scene I love. And then closer to the end, there's some creepy scenes that are really good as well. But nonetheless, just a really entertaining film. Another film. Oh, before I do forget, there is one scene that I absolutely, out of the entire film, love, and it's a funny one. So in the scene at the, I guess, apartment complex that they stay at, it's like, I guess it's not an apartment complex. It's more of like an apartment building, and there's a scene where an older senior citizen couple are on the elevator, and the lady's like, someone left their ugly doll on the elevator. So as they're leaving and the elevator's going up, Chucky's basically telling her to F off. I don't want to get myself in trouble for actually saying it, because now they can demonetize you for things like that, or it can prevent you from getting monetized. So if you know what I'm talking about, then you know how entertaining that scene is. I laugh my ass off every time I watch that scene. Excuse me. But it is one of my all-time favorites. I do like the fact that we kind of get a little bit of a backstory in some way on Chucky, on his human form with his partner, and then of course we meet the voodoo doctor that gave him the amulet, and of course gave him the chant to use in case he needed it. And we kind of do find out a little bit on Chucky on what could possibly happen if he's in that body for way too long. So yeah, definitely like the little backstory there. But nonetheless, I like the fact that it's you kind of get this mystery, like whodunit type of mystery at the probably a good majority of the film. We really don't get to see Chucky until like more towards, to at least to the main characters, in the way of his mom and the cop. I think that happens more towards close to the end of the movie. But yeah, nonetheless, I wish I could say more about this movie. It's one of those horror films that we've all seen, so I know a lot of you are pretty familiar with the film itself. If you watch documentaries and behind the scene featurettes, then you would know the countless and countless hours and manpower they needed to do to make this movie, just from the practical effects alone for Chucky. The score I love. I think the score is fantastic. Probably one of my favorite scores. I would say it would probably be like on my top 5 favorite horror scores. Just so great. And I do, you do get a couple death scenes on camera, and then there's a few that you really don't, to an extent. Like one of the scenes that really stands out is the babysitter death. That is probably one of the most iconic scenes out of the movie. Of course, later on in the sequels, you get some standout deaths in that. But yeah, Child's Play, like I said, it's a fun, killer doll horror film. We've gotten so many killer doll films. Of course, we've got Dolls, and then we've got Dolly Dearest, and then just there's so many. Puppet Master's another one. They're more puppets, but some others consider them as dolls. But yeah, it's definitely one of those better ones, at least in my opinion. But I wish I could say more. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Child's Play movie. What do you guys think about it? Is there a scene that stands out for you in this film? For me, there's a few, but it's really the elevator scene. I will state this though, Brad Dourif I think was perfect casting. The more you watch these films and the more you hear his voice, you could tell he's having a good time with it. You really can. And I feel like if anybody else, if he wasn't casted in these movies and somebody else was, I don't think the movie would have done too well. I feel like he really brings something to the character that, a lot of people don't bring to characters when they're portraying somebody. Robert Englund's another example of a great actor who really portrays a character very well. There's a few other ones that I will talk about when I do reviews for those franchises. But nonetheless, Child's Play, it's a great horror film, one of my favorites growing up, and I'm sure it's one of your favorites. So, without any interruption, thank you guys for tuning in to this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my review and my little thoughts on the film. Comment down below what your thoughts are. I would love to hear your opinion on what you think about the film, like I stated before. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, definitely subscribe. It helps. Like these videos, it helps. And any improvement helps. So don't be shy. Do those cool things. And keep an eye out for my review of Child's Play 2. And until next time, guys, I am Film Talk with Mikey, and we'll talk films. Peace.